Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to start in a place, not in a policy document. Picture a stretch of waterfront, or an old industrial quarter many of you would recognise. Once, it was a logistics, or shipyard, or mills and warehouses. Then, for a while, not very much at all. Now, those same buildings host a library and a learning hub, artist studios, a small games company, a digital lab, rehearsal rooms, a cafe where students and startups sit next to families on a Saturday morning, and an outdoor space that becomes a festival site every summer. Now, if you walk through at 8 a.m, you'll see school groups, freelancers with laptops, technicians loading in kit, pensioners going into a library, a choir rehearsal starting in the corner, and tourists following a blue badge guide. Now, most people would call it the cultural quarter. I look at it and I see something else. I see innovation infrastructure. And of course, I'm not describing a fantasy. I could be talking about the transformation of Salford Quays and MediaCity, where the Lowry helped anchor one of Europe's most successful regeneration projects that now supports jobs, skills, visitors and community programmes across Salford and Greater Manchester. I could be talking about parts of Hull, Coventry, Bradford, Sunderland, Plymouth, Gateshead, places where many of you are from, where public investment in culture has helped to reimagine whole districts. In all of these places, you've got skills development, R&D, community engagement, visitor economy, business formation, graduate retention, mental well-being programmes, pride in place, all happening in the same set of spaces. And crucially, and this is the point of my talk today, a lot of that ecosystem only exists because of long-term, patient public investment in culture, matched with leadership from local government, universities, cultural organisations and industry. And that is what I mean when I say culture is not a nice to have after growth. It's part of how you create it. So, who are we and I in this story? For anyone I've not met, I'm Laura Dyer, Deputy Chief Executive for Place Engagement and Libraries at Arts Council England, a title which I often say has the ability to be both opaque and descriptive at the same time. We're the National Development Agency for Culture, Creativity and Libraries. Now, our job is very simple to say and wonderfully complex to do. To make sure creativity and culture can thrive for everyone, everywhere. We do that through public investment on behalf of government and national lottery players, but we do it with places, not just in places. And right now, our funding is at work in every local authority area in England, and that's through a mix of our national portfolio of organisations, our national lottery project grants, our Creative People and Places programme, which works in areas of historically lower engagement, our investment in libraries, museums and music education, and increasingly our place partnership funds and our 54 priority place programmes, which were designed with local partners. And over recent years, we've significantly increased investment in places that historically missed out, including those priority places. And we've backed more locally rooted organisations to lead their work in their own communities. Now, those decisions weren't accidental. They're about aligning cultural investment with the places where it can unlock most impact, socially, economically, and artistically. So when you, as local authorities, universities and businesses ask, who's in this with us? I want you to see Arts Council England as one of the anchors in your wider innovation ecosystem. But you don't need me to tell you that the context is shifting fast. We've got deeper devolution and more powers flowing to places, local growth plans and new responsibilities around skills, net zero and growth. The government's focus on the creative industries as a priority growth sector, the Pride in Place agenda and neighbourhood investment, new towns and new quarters being planned, where social infrastructure needs to be designed in from day one. And all of this adds up to a simple reality. Decisions about investment, skills, regeneration and innovation are increasingly made in places, by you and with you, rather than only in Whitehall. And for culture and creativity, that is a real opportunity. Because the evidence, including the work we've done with key cities, a CEBR economic spillover report, and recent work from the OECD and the DCMS's participation survey, is clear. Places that take their cultural and creative ecosystems seriously are better at attracting talent and investment, better at supporting innovation, and better at giving their residents reasons to feel proud of where they live. So this is the moment to stop treating culture as the fringe activity that gets added in after the serious business of growth, and instead see it as part of the core strategy. So let me ground that in what public cultural investment actually does in your cities. From our leading the crowd research, looking at organisations across England, the pattern is consistent. Public investment acts as risk capital, but it also acts as a quality kite mark. It tells others that this is credible, this is valued, this is here for the long term. And that confidence brings in private sponsorship, philanthropy and earned income. It unlocks commercial partnerships. It underwrites capital projects that would otherwise be too risky. And it allows organisations to innovate, to try new ideas, work with new communities and adopt new tech. The economic spillover impacts work goes even further. It shows that publicly funded arts and culture are net contributors to the economy, once you account for tax, employment and supply chains. They help raise productivity, support local supply chains, hospitality and tourism, and drive skills development and innovation that benefit the wider creative industries and beyond. And in other words, this is exactly the kind of catalytic crowding in investment we talk about in other sectors. If you're happy to call a life science zone innovation infrastructure, you should be just as comfortable saying it about the cultural and creative infrastructure in your city. And if you want an example of that, the Lowry here at MediaCity is estimated to support hundreds of jobs and tens of millions of pounds in GVA each year, on top of significant social value. A textbook case of how a cultural institution can anchor regeneration, drive visitors, and inspire communities. The latest participation survey results underline what many of you see on the ground. Engagement with the arts is around 9 in 10 adults in England. Physical visits to museums and galleries have risen strongly since the previous year, and the use of libraries is growing again, including as places of digital access, learning, and really critically in these fractured times, community support. Overall, physical engagement outstrips digital across cultural sectors. So we're not trying to manufacture something from nothing. People want this. They are already using what you have. The real question is, are we aligning those cultural assets with your strategies for growth, skills, health, and neighbourhood renewal? Or are we leaving that value on the table? So what this means for key cities and the iPlace network. Now, a couple of years ago, we partnered with key cities on the Culture and Place in Britain report. It was a snapshot of 27 cities that look a lot like the room today. Complex places, not always the biggest, or even cities, dealing with real constraints, but ambitious about culture. And 3 key messages from that work feel even more relevant today. First, key cities are already serious cultural investors. Even under pressure, local authorities have kept culture in the mix because they see what it delivers for regeneration, high streets, identity and cohesion. Second, partnership works. Cultural compacts, cross-sector boards, collaborations between councils, universities, anchor institutions, independents, trusts and businesses make a tangible difference. They put culture in the room when big decisions are taken. And third, not everywhere is a major cluster, and that's fine. Micro-clusters of creative activity, community-led programmes, libraries and small venues can be just as important for inclusive growth as the big flagships, especially if policy and investment notice them. Now, the recent OECD work on culture-led regeneration reinforces this. The places that succeed don't rely on a single star-architect building or a one-off event. They mix strong, everyday cultural and community infrastructure, the smart reuse of existing assets, cultural and creative districts where it fits, and events and festivals as catalysts. And they plan for the long term, with communities at the heart. And of course, we've seen what this looks like through the UK City of Culture programme, including 3 key cities. Hull, 2017, where evaluation found major boosts in visitor numbers, reputation and community pride, alongside economic benefits. Coventry, 2021, which levered the title to attract investment, engage communities in every single ward, and stimulate a significant uplift in tourism and cultural participation despite COVID. And now Bradford, 2025, projected to create thousands of jobs and deliver long-term economic and social benefits across the district. Different cities, different contexts, but a consistent story. When culture is put at the heart of a shared vision and backed by a serious partnership, it can help rewrite the story of a place. And that is exactly why the iPlace Conversations needs to be not is culture nice, but how do we use this whole ecosystem intelligently as we design innovation places? And at the heart of that, partnership is the operating system. So how do we do that in practice? The good news, as we've heard today, is you already are. But let me spell out what good looks like from where I sit. It looks like local authorities who treat culture as core infrastructure in local plans, local growth plans, skill strategies and health partnerships, not just as a discretionary line that may have to be trimmed. Universities that see culture as part of their civic role, opening up campuses, co-curating programmes, embedding creative skills and keeping graduates in the city, bringing their research skills into festivals and venues. It's industry partners, from SMEs to major employers, who understand that a vibrant cultural offer helps them attract and retain the people they need, and who are prepared to co-invest. It's cultural and community organisations who are in genuine conversation with residents about what matters, not just delivering to them. And all of these players joining up through things like cultural compacts, innovation networks, local partnerships. Precisely what Key Cities and KCIM was set up to champion. Now, the Arts Council England's role in that mix is A, to provide the long-term public funding that underpins that ecosystem, to share data and insights from our surveys, from our research, and from what we can see both nationally and internationally, to support partnership models that work, including compacts, our Creative People and Places programme, and place-based investments, which align with your priorities, and to be a constructive, honest, and at times challenging partner as you navigate devolution, regeneration, and the hard choices. Now, we don't own this agenda, but we do back it. And looking ahead, what we'd like to build with you. Well, there's 3 ambitions that feel vital, and they're an invitation to everyone in this room. Firstly, treat culture as innovation infrastructure in every serious place strategy. If you're planning an innovation district, a new town, a campus expansion, a major regeneration scheme, culture has to be in there from the start, as a space for making and experimenting, as a platform for festivals and events that tell your story to the world, and as part of how you support well-being and cohesion for people living through change. Design it early and talk to us early. Retrofitting is always more expensive. Secondly, build creative skills and opportunities into your growth model. Now, we know that the creative industries will continue to grow, but we also know, as we've heard, that access to those jobs is unequal. Working together, councils, colleges, universities, industry, cultural organisations, and the Arts Council, we can connect local young people into real creative career paths. We can use libraries, venues, and festivals as entry points for skills and enterprise, and we can support micro-businesses and freelancers who are often the unseen R&D engine of your local economy. And that's not an add-on. It's how we ensure that growth is inclusive and sustainable. Thirdly, commit to long-term place-led partnerships. Partnerships where you go in with a mindset that you're willing to give something up, not just gain something. The evidence from key cities, from OECD, and from our own programmes is that culture-led transformation takes time. And it works best when goals are realistic and shared, when communities are involved in actually shaping the change, and when cultural investment is aligned with transport, housing, skills, and health. And we are ready at the Arts Council to deepen our place partnership work, to better align with your strategies, to experiment with new co-commissioning models and share what we're learning, including where things haven't worked quite yet. But we can only do that if we're in the conversation with you as you design your plans, not just when you're looking for the pounds or the logo at the end. So to conclude, I'd like to offer a closing challenge. Let me end back in that district that we walked through at the start. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because a council backed culture when it might have been easier not to. When a university chose to be a civic partner, not a walled garden. Where local organisations and communities were trusted to lead, and where businesses saw the value of associating with creativity. And public funders, like us, took a risk on a different future for that place and stayed the course. And let's not overlook the impact on people in this equation. Imagine a teenager who wanders into a free workshop at their local library. Not because they were seeking a career, but because they're a bit bored and it's nearby and welcoming. They tried something new. Find they're good at it. Take part in a community festival and eventually build the confidence to apply for a creative apprenticeship. It's the quiet turning point that happens every day when cultural spaces are part of the fabric of a place. Or picture an early career artist in one of our towns. They've got a small project grant and access to a shared studio. They begin collaborating with others, perhaps a games company, perhaps a university lab, and suddenly they're creating work, employing a couple of freelancers, and contributing to the local economy. Now, it's a modest intervention, but it unlocks talent, enterprise and confidence that were already there. Or imagine a family in a neighbourhood that hasn't always felt connected to the wider city. They wanted to do something for their kids, so they start going to a weekly community art session. The kids make friends, the parents get involved, and over time, they feel part of something again. A simple cultural invitation becomes a bridge back into civic life. Now, these kinds of moments are happening or could happen in every one of your places when cultural infrastructure and opportunity are properly supported. So my challenge to you as leaders of cities, universities and industries is this. When you go back to your strategies, your capital plans, your partnership boards, ask 3 questions. 1, are we treating culture and creativity as an essential part of our innovation and growth infrastructure, or as a decoration? Are we using our cultural assets, big and small, to open up opportunities for our residents, especially those who've historically been locked out? And are we willing to work together across sectors and across cities to bring this for the long term? Now, if the answer to those is yes, or even we'd like it to be yes, then my offer is simple. Talk to us. Bring us into your thinking early. Use the evidence we've built together. Challenge us and co-design with us. Because if we get this right, the story we tell in 5 or 10 years' time won't just be about individual cultural projects or isolated innovation zones. It will be about a network of places, your places, that choose to put creativity and culture at the heart of how they grow. And that is a story worth investing in. Thank you.